this is Nick Surguine. I'm here today with Harold Smith. Harold
Hello.
Smith works for Independent Bank, and he is part of their mortgage department. Today we're going to be covering some different topics. The main one that we're going to start with for this video is going to be about pre-qualification and pre-approval and the importance of those things. I'll also have some other videos on the site that will cover different topics that you might have questions about that Harold has some expertise on. So with that, we're going to get started. Harold, do you want to give a quick just kind of intro of who you are and your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad to be here, glad to help out Nick with this and just bring some content to you guys just as free giveaway information. Whether you work with me or not, I hope you work with me, but it would apply anywhere. And so I've been in the mortgage business about 15 years now. My father is a realtor, not here, in Amarillo where I grew up, so I kind of was raised in that way, so I kind of know a little bit of Nick's side, but anyway, that's kind of my...
Well, let's get started. The first thing we had talked about that I wanted to discuss was with regard to pre-qualification versus pre-approval.
Yes.
There's a lot of information out there that as someone starts buying a home, sometimes you go in, you go with one of the calculators online and you figure out how much you can afford. But sometimes, especially in the Texas market, in the Dallas markets especially, it can help to have a pre-qualification or a pre-approval.
Right.
So run us through a little bit of what's the difference between them, and then just what's the advantage of having one or both, one or either of those two.
Right. Well, first of all, is just why even have it, even the basic level, pre-qual in the first place, because any good listing agent, and that's the person representing the seller, is going to want to know, okay, I see that you've got this offer, I'm okay with the price, they're going to finance the house, but they haven't even talked to a lender yet. Well, they're going to think, I don't want to accept this offer when I have 3 others who are pre-qualified or pre-approved, and I don't even know that you can even get approved. And so as soon as that seller accepted that offer, well, then they're foregoing any other offers, as you know. And so this is the reason that you want to show strength in an offer. You don't want to show weakness. And first of all, to get pre-qualified or pre-approved is free. It does not obligate you to anything at all. You could get pre-approved with one lender, but you could actually in the end use a different lender, whether that's me or a different one. So that's kind of the key reason you want to do that.
And so just generally speaking, when we're talking about qualified and approved, what are we getting qualified or approved for?
Great question. So here's the difference. So pre-qualified means that a lender is going to pull a credit report. And by the way, they do need to do that to be able to accurately calculate a debt to income ratio. And that's something we would talk more about over the phone or in person about what that is. But that's a real key number. The score is important, but equally as important is this debt to income ratio. And so we're basically looking at that and basically going, okay, based on what they've told me of income, assets, I know this person can get a loan, okay? And so I then issue a pre-qualification letter that says they're pre-qualified for X. And by the way, usually the number I put on there is not the maximum they qualify for.
Okay.
Most people, I generally find, do not max out. Some do, but it's not common. And we do that, we want to be close to the offer price. It doesn't have to be exact because you don't want a listing agent to think, well, you just barely qualify for this house. Right. That doesn't look good either.
Sure.
So bottom line is still there's negotiation. But there's pre-qualification is just I've pulled credit, but we've talked about income and assets. Pre-approved means I've actually received from the borrower, from you, copies of pay stubs, bank statements, tax returns, so I can validate, yes, that is actually the income, that they do actually have those assets. And so that I can then attest to the fact that, yeah, they're good because I've seen documentation to prove these things. Now, of course, yes, if somebody was pre-approved and heaven forbid they were laid off, well, yes, that's going to change things.
Sure,
but assuming nothing like that happens, then that pre-approval's got a really good long lifespan to it.
Okay, so then it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me, and from what I've seen, that really a pre-qualification is sort of as a borrower, I'm going to come in, you're still going to pull a credit report, but really your numbers are based off of the credit report and what I tell you.
Correct.
Whereas a pre-approval is
You've proven to me.
I've proven
Right.
to you by giving you paperwork to back it up.
That's right.
Okay.
And then what we do is a pre-approval letter looks really similar to a pre-qualification letter, a few different word choices. And the way I describe it is a pre-approval letter is like a pre-qual on steroids.
Okay.
It's really jazzed up. That really gives that listing agent and the seller a great degree of confidence that, unless something very bizarre happened with appraisal or something like that, this borrower is solid.
Okay.
They can make this happen.
Great. So when, as a borrower, if I'm looking at houses, do I wait until I get the house to come to you? Do I do it before just to see how much I can spend on a house? At what point in the process should I come and get a pre-approval or pre-qualification?
Excellent question. I'm a big fan of early.
Okay.
Because here's the deal. You obviously you could wait until, right before you get in the car and Nick starts showing you houses. You could do that. But I really recommend you do it weeks, months. We've got some clients that do it 6 to 9 months in advance, even a year. I'll admit that's kind of rare to do it that far out. But here's the reason I would recommend if first of all, it doesn't obligate you to anything. Doesn't cost you anything. It's just exploratory.
Okay.
And the reason is so let's say that I look at some numbers and I go, hey, it looks great. Here's what I would advise because this will get you in a better position when you are ready. So if let's say we do it now, but you're not going to buy for 6 months, well, we can strategize some things. I can say, hey, I think you'll be even maybe your credit score would improve a little bit if you did this, or hey, don't worry about trying to pay that off. Hold that money for cash. That's going to be more important right here. I have had people who have contacted me and they're in the process. They've begun to look, and maybe they do qualify, but they've actually taken some actions that they thought were good actions, but really I would suggest an alternate strategy that would have improved it more.
Okay. Well, that's great. I think, I have one more question and then I think we can look at some other topics. I'm curious though, if you talked about sort of having maybe 6-9 months, it's a little rare, but sometimes people do it that far in advance. Generally speaking, how long, is because there's usually an expiration date, right?
Right.
So how long is a pre-approval usually good for?
Good question. Technically, they last for basically 3 months because that's basically the lifespan of a credit report. Practically, they really don't expire.
Okay.
And so let me explain that. So let's say we pre-qualify somebody now and they don't do something for 6 months. Well, when 3 months is up, I'm not going to go pull new credit. There's no need to. Now, if they went out and bought 3 cars and changed jobs, yeah, we're going to need to change some stuff.
Sure.
But what we'll do is we'll just wait until they're getting closer to doing that. We'll pull a fresh credit report, make those adjustments, and move forward. But if they don't buy any cars, don't open any new credit cards, there's really no major changes in their income or their debts, it's going to be the same, And so yes, ultimately I would need to refresh it, but that's a simple thing to do.
Okay.
So it's more of a technically one answer, practically a different answer. And we just refresh the letters when that time comes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Harold. I appreciate you helping out with these, and we'll see you in some more videos soon. Stay tuned to my YouTube channel, and we'll talk about some other topics shortly. Thanks.
Thank you.